Here in front of St. James Church and Our Lady in the back of the church, and I'm with, what's your name?
Hello, I'm Alex.
And where are you from, Alex?
I'm from Romania.
You're from Romania. And how did you hear the first time about Medjugorje?
Very good question. Well, just about everybody in the Catholic faith knows more or less about Medjugorje. But in my current context, I heard about Medjugorje when I learned that a very dear person to me, a holy person also, Padre Claudio, has been here for quite some time.
Mm-hmm. And it's your first time in Medjugorje, no?
It is my first time in Bosnia Herzegovina and also my first time in Medjugorje, yes.
And how are your experience being in Medjugorje?
I expected to find resolution for whatever problems deterred me to visit this place. But once I got here, this place and everything that goes about it um, exceeded my expectations.
Wow, in which way?
That's a good question, and it's pretty difficult to boil it down to just 2 or 3 sentences. I didn't come here as a simple tourist.
Mm-hmm.
I guess each one of us is attracted in a more or less subtle way to this place, because by coming here, each one of us hopes to, like I said before, to find a solution to whatever yearning brought him or her here. So, what do I like about this place? Well, first of all, I am grateful for the fact that it facilitated my reunion with Padre Claudio. I am grateful also for the peace and the blessings that I've experienced while ascending to Apparition Hill and Križevac, and just by walking around the town and
The sanctuary.
James's church and the statue of the risen Christ. I'm also grateful for the beauty, the sheer beauty of the scenery here. Everything about this place is serene and peaceful.
Mm-hmm. And what kind of graces did you receive going up the mountain? Is it very personal, or could you describe it a bit for the listeners?
I came here as an anxious person, and I depart a somewhat calmer person.
Wow, how beautiful! And how was your experience going up Cross Mountain? Then was it tough for you to go up, and how what did you feel going up?
That's another very good question. So my first ascension to the top of Križevac was very early one morning, 3 or 4 days ago. I was in the company of a father, a priest from my country, my home country. His name is Father Emil, and as a brief side story, before ascending to Križevac, we climbed to the top of Apparition Hill. It was very early in the morning, I think it was 5 or so. I somehow found my way by myself to the starting point of the trail to the top of Apparition Hill. And as I started climbing, I caught up with Father Emil and another friend of his, a Romanian man from Reșița, some town in Romania. And I immediately noticed that Father Emil was climbing towards the top of Apparition Hill while being barefoot. So as I like the idea of a challenge, if this challenge is towards a good goal, I immediately decided that I could give it a try as well. So I removed my shoes and my socks, and I didn't really expect it to be difficult, but I was soon brought back to my senses, because ascending to the top of Apparition Hill is not a simple walk through a park, and the trail is not polished. On the contrary, this is the site of the apparition of the Blessed Virgin. This occurred on top of a mountain made of limestone. And with a little bit of chemistry that I still remember, limestone is both very hard and also quite unstable. And what do I mean by that? It is very, very hard in terms of breaking, but it is very easy to be shaped and molded by water. So what that further means is that limestone, if you give it enough time and if it's rained upon and washed by water year after year, year after year, this limestone will develop very, very sharp edges, and those edges do not go well with a barefoot sole. So I think it took me about 30 seconds to realize all this, and I understood the chemistry, but it was already too late, because I have removed my shoes and I wasn't going to put them back on after just 30 seconds. So, but it was morning, it was cold, and you know, when it's very, very cold outside, the cold kind of helps you forget about other pains in your body, because, well, it's cold, so you have something else to think about. And Father Emil kept encouraging me that, come on, Alex, you only have a little bit further to go. Pray, listen to... so this guy from Rešica that accompanied Father Emil, he was fluent in Croatian as well, which is a blessing. And he translated the messages that the Blessed Virgin transmitted through the seers, through those who, the kids who witnessed her apparitions. So that was what happened on Apparition Hill. We got to the very top, and then we descended to the statue of the Blessed Virgin, and that's where I finally put my socks and my shoes back on. But Father Emil continued all the way down barefoot. So once we got down, now I'm getting back to your question, Father Emil asked me if I would agree to accompany them on Križevac, but he warned me that they would have to climb at a very, very fast pace, pretty much running, because so by that time it was 6 in the morning, and by 7:30 he had to attend mass, and then afterwards he would depart on his way back to Romania. So again, another challenge. This challenge was also for something good. Obviously I said yes. So the guy from Rešica drove us to the bottom of Mount Križevac, and we started hiking, or we started ascending. So this is where I fell in awe with Father Emil. There was no remote thought in my mind to remove my shoes again, but Father Emil was barefoot. He never put his shoes back. He kept apologizing that, Alex, you should take it slowly, and meditate at each station, say your prayers, meditate. But I couldn't bring myself to do that. I really wanted to be in their company, and if that meant hiking in an almost running fashion, Then I said, okay, I can always come back here again and again and do it properly, which is not to say that what we did was not proper, because so I was the youngest of the three. So it was Alex, the youngest, Father Emil, and his friend from Reshica, and I was the youngest one. I was not barefoot. I was not saying the prayers with a loud voice, which meant I could spare my breath. And in spite of all this, I was barely keeping up with these two persons who were praying aloud. They had time to kneel and kiss each one of the statues at the stations. They also had time to keep reminding me that, Alex, you should really take your time and meditate. And I was breathing, I was out of breath. I was breathing like a train engine, like one of those steam locomotives. And I was in awe how Father Emil, while being barefoot, could keep the pace. So that was my first experience on Mount Krishavat. I've been fortunate enough to be able to go there twice, 3 times afterwards, at a more leisurely pace, just as Father Emil and then Father Claudio recommended.
Mm-hmm. And how was the experience then? What is the difference between the two mountains? Did you have different experiences there? Or the atmosphere of the two mountains, are they different for you or kind of the same? Going up Apparition Hill and Cross Mountain?
Well, I'm going to give you this answer and take into account that it's based only on 3 or 4 days
The
of
personal
being here.
experience, yeah?
It's quite likely that my answer would be slightly different if I were to give it to you in another week or two. But so far, I would say that both mountains are very peaceful and very serene. Probably because Mount Krishavats is quite a bit higher, quite a bit taller, and so it's a more difficult ascent. It is also not as traveled, so to say. But the difference is slight. Both mountains are very serene. Both mountains are very quiet, and actually that's one thing that bears being mentioned. Pilgrims here are very respectful in terms of obeying or observing the silence and being on their best behavior. So that's one thing that's
Beautiful
very
to see,
good.
no? Very
Yes.
good. And what would you tell people about Medjugorje? What is so special? If somebody doesn't know about the place, why should they come and what it's all about?
Good question. Well, as they say, we're all different, fortunately. So because we're all different, each of us is animated or is driven by certain desires and also certain needs. And I dare say that irrespective of a certain individual's needs, coming here and giving it some time, as we say in Romanian, primăvara nu vine cu o floare, so spring doesn't settle with just the first flower. You have to give it some time until the spring season fully sets in. So same here, just by coming here, it is unlikely that you will experience a miracle overnight. But if you come here and you give it some time, whatever brought you here will find an answer in due time.
Wow, beautiful. Do you want to add anything? Is something on your heart? Or
Well, thank you very much,
yeah,
Tom,
yeah.
for this Actually, I'm very happy that we met.
Same with me. Yeah.
Again, Padre Claudio was the common denominator was the person who brought us together. Thank you. I'm very grateful that I met you, and I'm also grateful to you for this opportunity and for this interview.
You're very welcome. I enjoyed this interview very much as well.
Thank you.